So as everybody knows, the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, talking about the US now, was passed earlier this year, but some people were upset that there was no plans to outright buy Bitcoin. And last week, the US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had some comments that caused maybe the markets to shake a little bit and ruffle some feathers. On Fox Business News, he said that the reserve would only be filled with confiscated Bitcoin and that the government wasn't going to be buying any. This seemed to close the door on what was said previously. And immediately following this, I think Bitcoin pulled back. But hours later, Bessent responded to the criticism on X when he clarified that the plan does leave room for budget neutral acquisitions. This is ways of acquiring Bitcoin without necessarily spending any taxpayer money. Quote, Bitcoin that has been finally forfeited to the federal government will be the foundation for the strategic Bitcoin reserve that President Trump established in his March executive order. In addition, Treasury is committed to exploring budget-neutral pathways to acquire more Bitcoin to expand the reserve and to execute on the president's promise to make the United States the Bitcoin superpower of the world. So basically, he ended up reiterating exactly what was said from the March executive order. Graham, no new information.
Yeah, it's basically a big nothing burger. Did people actually believe that the U.S. was going to sell their gold reserves or print money to buy Bitcoin?
Yes. I mean, that's what Bitcoiners were saying following the March executive order, right? Many Bitcoiners were disappointed in this executive order, which to me is hilarious if you frame it from 2 years prior during the Biden administration. Like, talk about spoiled, right? In any case, they wanted the government to buy their bags straight up. And I think the cope from a lot of Bitcoiners was, yes, but they can do some budget neutral buying of Bitcoin where basically no taxpayer money is spent. And so you have people like Samson Mow, who still believe...
Samson Mow of Jan 3.
Yeah, who still believe that gold reserves or printed money will be used to buy Bitcoin. You don't think this is likely, I take it?
Extremely unlikely. If there's any budget neutral buying of Bitcoin, I would say it would just be the trading of other confiscated digital assets for Bitcoin, perhaps. Like, let's say they confiscate a bunch of Fartcoin in some kind of money laundering scheme or whatever. And okay, that could be conceivably, you could see them like converting that to Bitcoin and adding it to the reserve. But we're talking like, yeah, it's pittance.
Yeah, it's
for sure.
Definitely, Fartcoin is not worth a lot.
But you know, not only is it extremely unlikely, in my opinion, that they'll ever actually buy significant amounts of Bitcoin, but it's also just undesirable. First of all, it just sort of goes against the principles of what Bitcoin should be, in my opinion. Do we really want the government getting that involved in this thing? Do we need that? But also, I think there's just a high chance that such a program could backfire, basically drawing the ire of non-Bitcoin holders, right? Like, what are you guys doing? You guys are just pumping the assets of your base supporters, which leads me to what I think the real purpose of this sort of softening of Scott Bessent's tone is that basically, yeah, it's just political pandering. And so actually someone on X noted, someone in the administration or a major donor clearly whispered in his ear after that interview to soften the market blow.
The cynical take would be that someone was Trump, because the Trump name is associated with like World Liberty Financial, and I think basically a Bitcoin treasury company that I believe just bought a bunch of Bitcoin ahead of its public listing. So the Trumps don't want the market to tank either, you could imagine. So I agree that it's someone in the administration, but I imagine it could be the man himself. And just as an American and a taxpayer, I agree with you. I wouldn't want taxpayer dollars TWAPing Bitcoin because it's so easy to front run. It would just be a terrible strategic way to buy Bitcoin, I think.
Yeah, and I do worry about the government having too much stake in Bitcoin. It leads to dark scenarios, in my opinion.